Esther, the Greek version, chapter 1, beginning with Edition A. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, on the 1st day of Nisan, Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream. He was a Jew living in the city of Susa, a great man, serving in the court of the king. He was one of the captives whom King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had brought from Jerusalem with King Jeconiah of Judea. And this was his dream. Noises and confusion, thunders and earthquake, tumult on the earth. Then 2 great dragons came forward, both ready to fight, and they roared terribly. At their roaring every nation prepared for war to fight against the righteous nation. It was a day of darkness and gloom, of tribulation and distress, affliction and great tumult on the earth. And the whole righteous nation was troubled. They feared the evils that threatened them, and were ready to perish. Then they cried out to God, and at their outcry, as though from a tiny spring, there came a great river with abundant water. Light came, and the sun rose, and the lowly were exalted, and devoured those held in honor. Mordecai saw in this dream what God had determined to do, and after he awoke he had it on his mind, seeking all day to understand it in every detail. Now Mordecai took his rest in the courtyard with Gabbatha and Thara, the 2 eunuchs of the king who kept watch in the courtyard. He overheard their conversation, and inquired into their purposes, and learned that they were preparing to lay hands on King Artaxerxes. And he informed the king concerning them. Then the king examined the 2 eunuchs, and after they had confessed it, they were led away to execution. The king made a permanent record of these things, and Mordecai wrote an account of them. And the king ordered Mordecai to serve in the court, and rewarded him for these things. But Haman, son of Hammedatha, a Bugian, who was in great honor with the king, determined to injure Mordecai and his people because of the 2 eunuchs of the king. It was after this that the following things happened in the days of Artaxerxes, the same Artaxerxes who ruled over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. In those days, when King Artaxerxes was enthroned in the city of Susa, in the 3rd year of his reign he gave a banquet for his friends and other persons of various nations, the Persians and Median nobles, and the governors of the provinces. After this, when he had displayed to them the riches of his kingdom, and the splendor of his bountiful celebration during the course of 180 days, at the end of the festivity the king gave a drinking party for people of various nations who lived in the city. This was held for 6 days in the courtyard of the royal palace, which was adorned with curtains of fine linen and cotton, held by cords of purple linen attached to gold and silver blocks on pillars of marble and other stones. Gold and silver couches were placed on a mosaic floor of emerald, mother of pearl, and marble. There were coverings of gauze, embroidered in various colors, with roses arranged around them. The cups were of gold and silver, and a miniature cup was displayed made of ruby, worth 30,000 talents. There was abundant sweet wine, such as the king himself drank. The drinking was not according to a fixed rule, but the king wished to have it so, and he commanded his stewards to comply with his pleasure and with that of their guests. Meanwhile, Queen Vashti gave a drinking party for the women in the palace where King Artaxerxes was. On the 7th day, when the king was in good humor, he told Haman, Bezan, Thara, Borazi, Zatholtha, Abatazah, and Tharaba, the 7 eunuchs who served King Artaxerxes, to escort the queen to him in order to proclaim her as queen, and to place the diadem on her head, and to have her display her beauty to all the governors and the people of various nations, for she was indeed a beautiful woman. But Queen Vashti refused to obey him, and would not come with the eunuchs. This offended the king, and he became furious. He said to his friends, "This is how Vashti has answered me. Give therefore your ruling and judgment on this matter." Archeseus, Sarsatheus, and Malasier, then the governors of the Persians and Medes who were closest to the king, Archeseus, Sarsatheus, and Malasier, who sat beside him in the chief seats, came to him, and told him what must be done to Queen Vashti for not obeying the order that the king had sent her by the eunuchs. Then Michaiah said to the king and the governors, Queen Vashti has insulted not only the king, but also all the king's governors and officials. For he had reported to them what the queen had said, and how she had defied the king. And just as she defied King Artaxerxes, so now the other ladies who are wives of the Persian and Median governors, on hearing what she has said to the king, will likewise dare to insult their husbands. If therefore it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree, inscribed in accordance with the laws of the Medes and Persians, so that it may not be altered, that the queen may no longer come into his presence. But let the king give her royal rank to a woman better than she. Let whatever law the king enacts be proclaimed in his kingdom, and thus all women will give honor to their husbands, rich and poor alike. This speech pleased the king and the governors, and the king did as Michaiah had recommended. The king sent the decree into all his kingdom, to every province in its own language, so that in every house respect would be shown to every husband.